So, I think it's a very different season for Olympiacos for obvious reasons. Just one game in the week. We have many EuroLeague coaches that they are complaining that with all the trips and the games in the domestic leagues, competitive domestic leagues, they don't have time, to prepare the teams for the practices. But you are at the opposite side of the river. So, how do you feel about it, and how you plan to handle this so different situation?
Yeah, well, it is a unique situation, and to pretend to know exactly how it's going to develop and how it's going to work out would be unrealistic of me, because neither I or anyone else has ever gone through it. But these are the set of circumstances that we live in, and it's our job to find ways to make it work to our advantage as opposed to our disadvantage. We're going to have to modify and develop a practice schedule that's suitable.
Yeah.
We're going to have to find a way to keep all players in game condition, and we are going to have to be very good at using perhaps the extra time that we have to prepare to help us in the challenge of playing the games without the same rhythm that you would normally have playing an extra game a week, and being able to use those games almost as practice for and preparation for your EuroLeague game. So it's going to be challenging, and it'll be very interesting to see how we handle it, because between the two of us, I think probably this is the way that the future of European international competition is going.
So, I believe that maybe we have upon us the most competitive EuroLeague of all ages, because we have, like 3-4 super teams with very good players and chemistry, many years together. But in my opinion, the group of the teams that they are able to contend for the top 8 are getting bigger and bigger.
Yes.
So I will be honest to you. We, as Eurohoops, global partners of EuroLeague, we are called, to create the power rankings, the first power rankings of the season before the tip-off of the EuroLeague. I want you to help me and to tell me in which position I will have to get, with Olympiacos.
Why should I help you? What do I owe you?
Because it's very hard for me, and maybe it's the first time that.
So why are you asking me publicly? Take me to the side and I'll help you.
No,
that's not the reason you're asking me. You don't want my help.
No, I need your opinion. Yeah, but I think it's a good way to.
No, I'm only kidding you, of course. Listen, your point is a fair one. There are obvious rosters, both in terms of continuity, talent level,
same call,
budgets, past results that certainly show themselves to be teams of a higher level. Beyond that, the ability to predict who sort of falls into that second level is I think very difficult, which is a good thing, because it shows that the EuroLeague as a whole is becoming much, much stronger. So it would be difficult for me to tell you who the next, let's say, 10 teams are that will be competing for maybe another 4 spots for the playoffs. But even that is dangerous. You don't want to determine who the top 8 is before the start of the season. That's what you play the season for,
Yeah.
And
so we'll have more contenders. This is
there are a lot more contenders, and there's a lot more parity in the league, which is what makes it interesting and what makes it good, and that's what we're trying to do in the EuroLeague, is to find competitive teams in every corner of our league. And I think we're doing that, and I think we can expect more of that as the league goes forward and the league grows. I think the important thing and the interesting thing is that so many players are now coming either back or coming into the EuroLeague, as opposed to the flow away from the European basketball that we saw for many years, because of the influence and the respect that the NBA, for example, had for European players, and their desire to find great talent here and bring them there. We lost a lot of really, really high-level players. Now it's starting to turn around a little bit, and some of these players that are maybe not top 15 players, they're interested in coming back to Europe for the competition, for the life, for the ability to play in a high-level basketball situation and be lead players. And that's a great thing. That's a very important thing.
The club, has made several changes in the roster compared to the previous season.
Yeah.
Do you feel that you have better tools, let's say quality-wise, to present the basketball you like and you have in your mind to put out in the court?
Listen, we went through a preseason which is not unlike a few other teams where we had multiple players in the World Cup competition, in addition to a few injuries. So we did not have the ability to practice together as a full team for most of the preseason, unfortunately. And that's just the reality. It's not an excuse. It's not a complaint. It's just the reality. So we have to play a little bit of catch up, and we have to quickly bring players into our way of play and into the type of tactic that we want to use and system that we want to have. But we have good players, and we have hungry guys, and we have the advantage of a new kind of approach, and that's exciting. It may take a little bit more time, but I'm looking forward to that challenge.
Basketball people like to talk about basketball and have an opinion. Everyone has an opinion, but you are the coach, so you know better. So many people were saying during the summer that the previous season, some of the Olympiacos issues, basketball-wise, was that you didn't have, player in position 5 to support Milutinov and extend, the quality, and the leader in the guard, the backcourt, to help Spanoulis and other players. Do you think that this season you're starting from a better base in position 1 and 5, because it's very crucial, in basketball?
Well, it's funny that one of the players, for example, that we had at position 1 that you say was a problematic position for us, he now got a 3-year guaranteed contract in the NBA.
I didn't say.
No,
many people say.
Generally.
Yeah.
Say you don't take it personally, man.
No.
Say,
no.
I don't take anything personally, so you shouldn't take anything personally.
I don't.
Good. The reality is that, not every time that you take a player, right away, he is Vasilis Spanoulis. Some things take time to develop. Now, the fact that no one has patience, or that many people, not no one, don't have the patience to wait and to let things develop, that's an unfortunate reality that we live in today's world of immediacy. But I like to think that we have made decisions and addressed certain areas in a way that gives us the hope that guys can reach their potential and fill those particular spots that you're talking about. We did take 2 new big guys to back up Nico. We did bring in 2 point guards, or 3 point guards, to strengthen that position. And maybe it'll take some time for them to develop. But in the reality of team building, you're faced with some different issues. Number 1, it's finding the right type of player, the right type of personality, the right type of attitude. Perhaps you're faced with financial limitations.
Yeah.
Because to come and take a high-level point guard, for example, from Europe, to pick the guy, it's easy. The question is, do you have the means,
the budget,
or the budget to take that guy? I mean, that's something that people overlook. It's not like you don't know who is available or who maybe best suits your need at that moment. The question is, can you do it?
Yeah.
I'm not a car guy, but if I were a car guy, maybe I'd want to take this kind of car. And then it turns out that that's a Lamborghini, and you can't buy that.
Yeah, it's too expensive.
You know what I mean? So you got to buy something else that's more suitable to what you can afford. Now, that next car may be a good car, it may get you from point A to point B, but it's different, you know, and that's the reality. So, you know, we have to take good players with good character and good attitude, and we have to develop it. That's our job. That's what we are responsible for, and that's what we're going to try to do.
And the last one, a general question for a mastermind of the sport. You know, the basketball has changed so much. I was watching some big, you know, tournaments like World Cup of 1986 or Eurobasket of 1987. It's like you're watching the slow motion. Yesterday, I read from some, you know, crazy changes with the free throws in the D-League in the USA. I think you know about it. So my question to Coach Blatt is, how do you imagine basketball in 20 years?
You know, I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again. In 20 years, you're going to see a female playing in the male's professional league.
Okay.
And I hope that happens.
Do you think that regulation-wise that can happen?
Regulation? Why? Like, where do you dress or something like that? I mean, what's the problem?
No, it's supposed that the males are
probably
afraid.
20 years from now, the way our world is going, that doesn't make a difference either.
Okay.
You know?
Okay.